All right, now it's nice to have people running your city that know your city. And we're so lucky we have a couple of those. The one that's going to talk to you now almost grew up here. He grew up when he was 4. He came here, and so he's been around, and it's done a spectacular job for our city and for the council. And we're really lucky to have the Pashodas, who have also, as you all know, Sharkies and Finns and the Snookhaven and all of that. So but they have given a lot of money, a lot of millions of money to our city, and we're lucky to have them. Nick?
Bob loves to talk so much he was going to take the mic from me.
I couldn't get it.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for being here. A little while ago we had discussed what we were going to do to celebrate our centennial, and we came up with a crazy idea of having an 18-month party. And that's how Venice is, and I'm very excited, that we came up with that decision, and that we're here today, engaging in those activities that we discussed would occur over these next 18 months. So, none of this is done by one person. It's not the mayor, it's not the council, it's everyone, and you guys are the heartbeat of everyone. So thank you so much for being here. We obviously couldn't do this without everybody involved, VABI and Venice Area Historical Society, the Gulf Coast Community Foundation, but also the council members for making sure that the approvals happen for these different things that we're doing. I'll just quickly recognize Rachel Frank, Ron Smith, Lloyd Weed, Kevin Engelkey, and I believe Mr. Rick Howard is here too. I think you guys are all over there behind Kevin. He's pointing. Rick, raise your hand. There you go. Okay. So I've got the council off to my left. I also have a lot of former council members and mayors also in the audience. I know Bill Wilson's here. I saw Dean Calamaris. I think Dorothy Corwick. I saw quite a few of you guys. So just know that leading in this city doesn't end when you get off of council. They all stay involved, and most of them are members of different organizations. And again, all that volunteerism, that's what was instilled in me when I grew up here. That level of involvement in your community you don't see everywhere else, but you definitely see it in Venice, and it's shown by everybody being here this morning. We're dedicating a statue today, right? What's the big deal? Well, the guy planned the city for us, so that's a pretty big deal to us as Venetians. And we take time out of our day to come together and celebrate this. And we wouldn't do it if it wasn't for donors like the Vetters, and folks that came together to make sure that we had the opportunity to celebrate this day. So we did do something a little special at the city. I'd like to bring up the Nolen family, all of you guys, if you could come up. You guys just want to make your way up in front of me. I will speak behind you because I am not the star of this show. One of you can hold this one and then face the audience if you would. We came up with a proclamation for today. We are dedicating today as Venice Urban Planning Day. So let me do the business. If you want to face that proclamation outward so everyone can see it. Whereas John Nolen was considered by the early 20th century as one of the world's foremost proponents of the city garden approach to urban design. Whereas Nolen was retained by the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers in 1925 to design a new city on 1,468 acres of land recently purchased by Dr. Fred Albee. Whereas the city was designed with a clean slate and plans were altered to suit the situation. Whereas to assist Nolen in designing a pedestrian-friendly city, Prentice French and Harold Heller, also graduates of Harvard University School of Landscape Design, were hired by the BLE to landscape all public and private areas of the city. Whereas, as a testament to the quality of the city's unique design, 5 of its districts are listed on the National Registry of Historic Places, along with 8 properties that are individually listed. Whereas urban planners worldwide continue to visit Venice, Florida for ideas and inspiration. Whereas John Nolen's original plan for Venice continues to serve as the city's standard for future planning. Now, therefore, I, Nick Pashota, Mayor of the City of Venice, on behalf of the Venice City Council, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, February 18th, 2026, as Venice Urban Planning Day, and encourage all residents and visitors to appreciate the thoughtful and historic design of the City of Venice. We're so blessed, we're so fortunate to have John Nolen's family here with us today and to be able to do activities like this in our city. And I couldn't be more honored, than to be here as your mayor and represent you on behalf of our city council. I do also want to acknowledge a few other key players. I've got former commissioner, where's John Thaxton at? Everybody's pointing there, okay. Former Commissioner John Thaxton's here on behalf of the Gulf Coast Community Foundation. I've also got Kathy Lehner with the Chamber of Commerce. I think she's back in the back under the fire tent. And then I've got Kara Morgan with Venice Main Street. She's probably back there hiding next to Kathy. Somewhere, okay. And then we also have another dignitary, I believe, with us today, Matt Eyre from the city of Marymount. If you could just stand up real quick. Marymount is actually our sister city in Ohio. It's John Nolen's sister city, and Venice is part of that program with them, also a John Nolen planned community. So as you can see, we've got a lot of folks that are not necessarily from Venice here to celebrate this day. So please, thank you to the Vetters, thank you to the Venice Area Historic Society, thank you to you guys for coming out today so that we can have a good fun day of celebration and honoring this day.
Our city's run by local folks, and we're fortunate to have Nick and his family, but also our city manager, James Clinch. James, where are you? Hiding somewhere. Oh, way back in the back. Okay. He doesn't like to draw attention to himself. James has been real involved in our city. He's done a fabulous job. He was Public Works Director. He started in the engineering department, and he's just done a heck of a job, and we're just really lucky to have him, and I want to make sure that we thank him for all he's done for us. Thank you, James. So when we got going in this thing, whenever the heck it was, over a year ago, we set up a committee. The committee was Harry Klinkhammer, Bill Jervey right here, and me and Irvin Lewin. I say that 3 times and screw it up every time. And Frank Wright and myself. And so over the year we planned it, and I hope you will feel that we did an okay job. But we are lucky that we went about finding somebody to make the statue, because in order to have a statue, you got to make it. And so we went and we found some people in California. Of course, that's a great place to find things. And we went to Toby Spellerman at Bronze Man, and Bronze Man makes bronze statues, and they did a spectacular job. It took us 6 months to make it, and we had to move his hair around. We had to move it. He had furrowed brow for the longest time. We had a heck of a time trying to get rid of his furrowed brow, but sooner or later we got it all done. and it showed up finally at our place in the fall. The Bronze Man people have several other statues here in town. Maria, which is over on that corner over there. Sophia, which is on this corner across the street. And Olivia, who is in the butterfly garden in Centennial Park. So their work is well represented. All right, now, the people that did most of the work is the Public Works Department. They did an incredible job. Rick Simpson's in charge of the Public Works Department. Tim George, they did a lot of the pavers and his team. Tony Rosen is amazing. He's an incredible guy. He's the one who sweated over this placing of this statue and getting it right. And in the middle of the night last night, we placed it put it in place. The other person in Public Works is Scott Mara, who makes it all look beautiful. So everything is wonderful. Now I have to introduce, just so you know who he is, and so I don't get fired, Bill Wilson, who is the president of VABI. He's right here. And we had a team of people from the city who did the planning. They did all kinds of diagrams and all kinds. They got more emails than I think Trump. They just got a lot of emails, and sometimes they weren't too happy with that many emails. And I don't blame them. Anyway, they are Brienne. Brienne, where are you? Yeah, Brienne. She was the main conspirator, but her team of Darlene Culpepper, and of course, she would be upset at me if I didn't mention her boss, Lorraine Anderson, who is in charge of communications for the city and does a great job. Boy, poor Nolan's fallen over a bunch of times. Anyway, so the president of the Historical Society is got everybody involved in everything, and it's amazing how I call him the P.T. Barnum of Venice, because he's been very instrumental in making history in the forefront of everything. And they had a wonderful event last night, and with the Nolens. Anyway, I'm going to bring up Frank Wright. Mike. I like that mic.
Getting the mic away from Bob is difficult, as you can see. We're here today to honor John Nolen. I'll talk loud, how about that? We're here to honor John Nolen. We did a research of John Nolen, and there is no place else in the country that has a statue to John Nolen. And we said, Bob said, wouldn't it be great to have a statue to John Nolen? wait until you see it. You've got it on your program, I guess, the front of the program, if you've got a program. And we're here to honor him. We're honored as well ourselves to have members of the Nolen family. I'd like to introduce them individually to you. I know you've seen them already, but I want to introduce them to you. The most senior member of the family is Muffy Conlon. Muffy is 91 and was unable to travel today here, but she was here about 3 years ago when Bruce Stevenson did a tour of the pocket parks. Instead, she sent her son, great-grandson of John Nolen. That's Terry Conlon. Terrence, where are you? Stand up, please. And his wife. Yeah. They came all the way from Portland, Oregon. That's a long way. That's longer than the lady the relative that came here from Montreal. You'll meet her in a moment. Mike Nolen is the senior member of the firm. Mike is the grandson of John Nolen. Thank you for being here. You bet. And Deb, I'm sorry, Deb is his wife, the better half of the family. Thank you, Deb. Dwight Seaman is here with his wife Tina from Canton, Massachusetts. He's the great-grandson of John. Jennifer Nolen Rainey is John's great-granddaughter. All the way from Montreal, Quebec. Now, believe it or not, Portland's further away. And Peter Nolen, where's Peter? The great-grandson, and his wife Carrie. And they only had to come from St. John's, Florida, so I don't know if it counts. You could have walked that far, I guess. Would you please join me in welcoming the Nolen family? Thank you. You make it this special. But wait, that's not all. We also have visiting with us from Marymount, Ohio, Village Councilor Matt Ayer. Matt and your wife. Marymount was designed by John Nolen and is the best remaining example of a city designed by John Nolen. We didn't get done with our project down here before the money ran out, but Marymount completed theirs, and it's a great example. And we're going to do a field trip up there. How far away is it? Anyway, we're going to do it during the summertime, not the winter.
There's a direct flight.
Also with us in spirit today is Julia Cousins Lanning, who many of you may have known, the Grand Lady of Venice. She left a legacy to preserve Venice history, and that legacy is administered by the Gulf Coast Community Foundation, the foundation which provided funds to help fund the statue. And they're represented here today by John Thaxton. Is John here? John, would you say a word?
So before I start my prepared remarks, I think Bob and Frank did a good job of introducing the dignitaries, the Nolen family, and everyone else that's here. But I want to introduce someone very special to me, the grandfather of Venice and its beautification efforts, and that's Bob Vetter. And so let's give Bob a hand. He continues to amaze me. I've known Bob since I was in my 20s. We've had good times and bad times. And he always seems to know what to say, you know? So I wrote down a quote that he just said. In order to have a statue, you have to make a statue. Really insightful, Bob. Yeah. Hot dog. All right, let's get her going here. I want to talk just a little bit about the Nolen plan. I was first introduced to the plan when I was at Venice High School. We did a field trip. We started at the sewer plant, which was then on the Gulf of Mexico in the beach dunes. From there, we toured some of the architecture around Venice, and we ended up here in the downtown area talking about the John Nolen plan. And I can't say in 1974 that I remembered everything about it, but I was starting the ecology club in Venice High School at that time, and this concept that Nolen came up with, all of the planners at his time were all about conquering nature, right? How can we beat nature at its game? Nolen celebrated nature, and he celebrated nature in all of the work that he did. And that provides very valuable lessons to us as citizens, as planners, and as elected officials here today. He did so with this really accomplished blueprint that contained architectural standards that you can see all around you. He even had price points in his plan. Can you imagine if we had a plan today and we put price points in it for, you know, sales prices and things like that? We would be castigated. He also had this concept of integrated community districts, which we now know as zoning. Mr. Nolen would be turning over in his grave today if he came to one of our public hearings and heard all of the outcry about incompatibility. You can't have multifamily next to single family. John Nolen not only thought you could, you should, because that was what was necessary to build a strong, a vibrant community. He also had this idea of this urban transect, and this is lost on a lot of people, but it runs from east to west. And what Mr. Nolen did is he designated a wilderness area. He designated rural and agricultural areas, and then as you move closer to town, you had smaller farms, semi-rural, urban districts such as the Edgewood community. And those of you that do not know the Edgewood community, and I would suspect that's most of you here, learn about it. It is critical. It is an absolute essential part of Venice and the Nolen plan, just east of the bypass. And then, of course, we have this wonderful downtown area that fronts on the Gulf of Mexico. His goal was to create a self-contained, self-sustaining community, and he was way before his time. All of Nolen's districts, all of them, and I emphasize all, because Nolen just didn't have this guided by nature concept in his natural areas. He brought the guided by nature concept right into the subdivisions and right into the downtown area. And for Mr. Nolen, it was important that he promoted this civic virtue. That was critical for him. And those of you that live in Venice and come to the Sun Fiesta, come to the Venice holiday parade, you see the manifestation of that civic virtue. And he did this through these concepts, and I'm going to use today's nomenclature because if you look at the Nolen plan, you're not going to see any of this there. But here's what this guy did in mid-1920s, mind you. This is 100 years. Multimodal transportation, local food sourcing, affordable housing, environmentally sensitive lands, education, diverse economic portfolio, passive and recreational uses, mixed income, mixed use housing, and he even put a casino on the Gulf of Mexico, right? I mean, how perfect can that be? And while some of the components of the plan have been compromised, unfortunately, a lot of the wilderness area and the farms have been urbanized, and the physical connection between the town of Venice and the Gulf of Mexico has been disrupted by condominiums, but there's enough of this amazing plan left that it is well deserving of the National Historic designation. And I bring these shortcomings up not to be critical, but it should remind us that it's vulnerable and we could lose it. And we need to be ever vigilant and protect what we have inherited. A unique and special place created by a unique and special man. Thank you.
If you can't tell, John is a politician.
He's reformed.
He's been reformed, that's right. We're here today we're here today to honor the man that put Venice on the map. That's the map you all are familiar with. It's the map that he's examining on his bench when you see that. He's examining that map. The city has done a pretty good job. Thank you. The city's done a pretty good job of following the map and continuing the tradition that John laid out for us. So, thank you very much. But wait, that's not all. We still have. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Elvis has left the building. No, he's still here. I'm sorry, Bob. That's not all we have today. Dr. Stevenson, Bruce Stevenson, is the biographer of John Nolen, and there's a wealth of knowledge that he shared with us last night at a lecture. And he's got a few words he'd like to speak to you about today. Bob, Bill. Bruce.
Thank you. I want you to understand what a great honor it is to be here, but I think maybe the most important thing is how shocked John Nolen would be to know that a statue was unveiled to him. When John Nolen passed in 1937, his practice had cratered. I'm not going to blame Venice, but Venice shorted him $4,000. But his other Florida commissions shorted him another $4,000. And his practice went into a steady decline. It was intensified during the Great Depression. But he found a great way to make a living. The Harvard School of City Planning was established in 1928, and Nolen was one of the first instructors hired. And he taught town planning, and the plan Frank just showed you is what his students studied. And they would study a transition of plans from the Italian Renaissance to what he looked upon as the American Renaissance where you now live. Sadly, in 1936, and I don't know if you've ever looked at your memorial in 1976, and it says John Nolen was a pioneer in the art of city planning. In 1936, I'm an academic, and they had an academic revolution, and the landscape architecture design of John Nolen got thrown out of Harvard. The School of City Planning was closed, and it came back with a German modernist. And what does that mean? Well, John Nolen looked at the city as a living organism designed in an artistic way. He was replaced by people who saw the city as a machine to be engineered. Not that you have any examples of a city being engineered for machines, but Venice is this amazing example of a city designed for humans. And Nolen's goal was all organisms, and I've been teaching 18 to 22-year-olds for 40 years. How do you get an 18-year-old to pay attention to you? Well, what's the purpose of the human species? They're thinking about it every 17 seconds. It's to reproduce life. And John Nolen designed places as organisms to reproduce life, and look what he's produced, right? Now, I would like to close, this is very brief. When Nolen was on his deathbed, he thought he would never be remembered. But John Nolen had a mentor named Raymond Unwin, who designed Letchworth, England, which you guys need to visit. Marymount and Venice are the best examples of the English garden city in the United States. And Nolen lay on his deathbed. Unwin happened to be teaching at Columbia University. He rushed the letter off. And this is what I think, if you want to remember John Nolen, listen to what Raymond Unwin said. You have lived your life to some purpose. The value of your work in the pioneer period of planning in the United States is recognized and is most highly appreciated in England as well, and in many other lands where your leadership in the field is known and where your genial and helpful personality have endeared you to a very wide circle. And he passed thinking, wow, right? And here you are celebrating this again. And the last thing, my most honored and cherished possession is the John Nolen Medal. And we also had it designed in bronze, and I actually got to participate in the design of the medal. It's produced in Italy, just like John Nolen wanted, On the front is his picture, on the back is the plan for Venice. And here's what it says. Cities are beautiful human works based on noble human ideals. And as I look in our country today, we have issues, we have divisions, but we also have noble human ideals. And if you want to look, how do we live, how do we go forward? We'll come to a place like Venice. The most human we are is when we reproduce life, meet other citizens in places like this where we feel comfortable, where we enjoy our company of our fellow citizens, and we have visions not only of the past, but the future that you presented today. Thank you.
I wanted to remark that today, we chose today to unveil this statue because 89 years ago, John Nolen passed on the 18th of February, 1937. So we're here today on the anniversary of that. It's a sad occasion, but it's also a memorable occasion. So I wanted to put that in. Bob?
Thank you, Frank. For all of you who like a good read, this book by Bruce is a good read. It is a very informative history of all of his work, and I hope you buy it, and I'll take the commission. Thank you. What we're going to do now, because that's why you're here, is we're going to get on to the unveiling. Now, how this works is we're going to have, assuming I can get my notes, thank you, Frank, you're worth something. There's more to that story. First of all, we're going to have the Nolens come up, and they're going to unveil the statue. Count it down.
All righty.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, unveil. Thank you. So anyway, here we go. Bill, you're gonna pull her off.
Let's do it.
Memphis Baker, and we're still enjoying the legacy that he left. But naturally, somebody already said that. So I just wanted you to know that this guy was a really hard worker who didn't have everything handed to him. For example, when he was 2 years of age, his father was shot dead by a rival politician. So, Mr. Mayor, you might keep that in mind. But despite that, he ended up going to one of the more prestigious schools in Philadelphia, graduating first in his class, went on to Harvard, and ultimately to schools in Germany and elsewhere in Europe. And as Dr. Stevenson said, he eventually joined the faculty of Harvard. And of course, he has designed so many wonderful landscapes as well as whole cities, as we know with Marymount and Venice. But also in Florida, a lot of people don't realize that almost every city, it seems, of size, from St. Petersburg to St. Augustine Beach, he played a prominent role in the 1920s in either redesigning, sometimes just minor, sometimes the whole city. In fact, as Dr. Stevenson told us last night, St. Petersburg, he really had some visions of making it like Nice, France. And it's that important kind of things that he did for Florida. At one time, in fact, he had so much business when things were going well in the mid-20s that he actually opened another office that his son ran in Jacksonville. So things were really riding high, And then, as Dr. Stevenson said, in the 1930s, of course, when everything was collapsing, he really paid a terrible price for that. But we all are enjoying the legacy that he left. We can only imagine what might have happened if the Depression had not occurred. And of course, we had a double depression in Florida with the land boom ending as well as the Great Depression for the U.S. We can only imagine what might have happened. Thank God we got as much of it as we did. I can only say every time I walk around, for being a newer member of Venice who really appreciates this place, every time I walk around I say, thank you, Mr. Nolen, God bless.
You know, one thing I wanted to say, and I always skip things that I wanted to say, this man that's to my right has been instrumental in most of the wonderful things that happen in Venice. He has got libraries named after him. He's got stages named after him. He's got all kinds of, even a lake at State College of Florida. But he has given, every time we have a major project, the urban forest or whatever, he's stepped up. And we're real lucky to have Bill.